Stand by. The vacuum tubes are warming up. This is a special live broadcast right here on Georgia Radio.
We're continuing our conversation with local Georgia authors as we roll into summer reading. This is going to be fun. This next, I'm looking forward to this. Alice Takawira joins me this morning. Alice, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Matt. I am very happy to be here.
You're a native of Zimbabwe, and you found yourself in Atlanta. How did that happen?
So I was born and raised in Zimbabwe, and I studied physical therapy at the University of Zimbabwe and decided to study for my master's abroad. So I applied to several schools and got accepted at Emory to study. So I came as a graduate student.
I love that, and graduated with a master's in public health there from Emory. And now you live in Atlanta with your two kids. You found love here in the South.
I did. I am here in Atlanta with my husband, who is also from Zimbabwe. And we have two beautiful children, 11 and 9 years old.
So what do you write about?
So Turning Tables is my first published book. And it is a romantic thriller that is set in London and Atlanta. And it follows a young girl who's also a Zimbabwean graduate student like myself, who gets caught up in a love triangle with a British gentleman and a Nigerian doctor.
I bring all your dating history and your past up because
Yes.
when we talked, I thought, this is fascinating, and I wonder how much of it's actually true, because stories like this could easily happen, couldn't they?
Yes. Well, I will say it was definitely inspired by my own experiences. Having lived in two continents, worked as a physical therapist in London, and then come here as a graduate student in Atlanta. Being from Zimbabwe, I was exposed to people of various backgrounds and cultures different from my own. And that can be very interesting, challenging, fun, a lot of things, and I thought, why don't I tell a story about that and just, use some of my own experiences. When I moved here as a student, I was not married, I was single, and I did date, but I actually got married to a Zimbabwean, and his last name is Takawira, and that's the name I have now.
And so what does he think about this? Here you are writing about this bizarre love triangle, and it's a thriller, so I'm guessing something, bad happens in it. What did your husband have an opinion on this?
Okay, so the interesting thing is he didn't read the manuscript until it was done. So it was a year before he actually read anything. So he had no idea what I was writing. And when I was done, I was like, hey, what do you think of this? And the first thing he said after reading was, so a whole year you've been writing about your exes.
I just picture him like walking into the living room and looking at you like, I had no idea. Yeah.
Yes.
So now he reads everything that you write.
Well, he knows some things, but the good thing is, in the dating stages of our relationship, I did reveal a lot of things about my past and who I dated. And so some stories were a little bit familiar. And I will add that this is not biographical. It is fiction, just inspired by some of my experiences. So there are little bits and pieces that are influenced by what I experienced, but it is purely fictional.
Let's talk about your book club that's on Facebook. This is really cool. Tell me about this.
So about 4 years ago, I started a book club and I called it Verenga, which means to read in my native Shona. So I am of the Shona tribe in Zimbabwe. And I just wanted a book club that would also represent some of the books that we read, like being an immigrant, right? There's so many book clubs out there, many. And you find that a lot of times they may not, just based on cultural differences and interest and exposure, sometimes they don't read or explore some of the things that you're familiar with. So I started something that would appeal to people like myself, as an African living in America. I read widely. So I read African literature, Asian, American, British. And I just wanted something like that. And so I started it and it grew. I think I have over 300 members on there right now.
What fascinates you the most when it comes to literature? What do you enjoy reading the most out of all of that?
I love a good whodunit mystery. I I don't even really read romance books. And I'll tell you, when I first wrote this book, it turned out to be more of a romance, but that's not what I was going for. And if you read the story, there's always a twist. There's a twist at the end or in the middle toward the end. And it's because I love a good twist. I love to get people sitting at the edge of their seat and what's going to happen. So I love a good mystery. I am a big fan of Gillian Flynn kind of books. I just love something that gets me thinking and trying to figure things out.
And what started this writing obsession with you?
I think I just always loved reading. When I was a child growing up in Zimbabwe, I was a member of 3 libraries. My school library, my local neighborhood library, Bradfield Library, and we had a mobile library that came to the school. It was a bus that drove to different schools, and you could subscribe to that separate from the school one, right? And I begged my mom, and she paid for me to have another, so I had 3 libraries, and I was constantly reading. Always reading. I love to read. And I think it sparked my imagination. I found myself creating characters in my head. And I started writing. I started writing at 13. I even used to do comic books. So I think I've just always loved to write. I love to create. And then I guess finally I decided to, publish.
Well, I'm glad you did, because this is going to be a fun read this summer. If you're looking for a slightly romantic whodunit, thriller, suspense novel, you can go get this one right now. And how can folks find your book, Alice? Because you've got it everywhere, it looks like.
Yes, so my book is available on Amazon. You can order a physical copy off of Amazon. It's on Kindle, Apple Books, and several online bookstores. And also it's available in audio. So for those that prefer to listen to their books, I had an audio version of the book made. So it's
And do you read it yourself?
No, I didn't know if I could trust myself to read it effectively. I don't know that I sound good. I might listen back to this and see if I sound good on,
I think you sound just fine. Well, that's great, though. So it's available any way you want it. And
yes.
We will quick link your website into the show story, which does, I'm sure, have a link to everything. And if folks want to find out more about your book club, how's the best place to find it?
So the book club is on Facebook, Verenga Girls. That's spelled Verenga, Girls Book Club. And it's also on Facebook. And I'm also on Facebook as well as Alice Takawira Writes. And on Instagram, alice.takawira Writes.
That's great. I'm looking forward to connecting there and learning more about you, but also about where you like to travel, because you're an avid traveler. And I love that you said you like to taste exotic foods. It doesn't say that you necessarily enjoy what you're tasting, but that your adventure. What's the craziest thing you've had here to eat?
Just recently, it's probably not crazy, but just recently, my family was in Switzerland in March. We went skiing in Switzerland and we tried escargot and frog's legs. I'd not had frog's legs before. I'd had escargot, but I actually found them very tasty.
See, an open mind leads to incredible things. Well, and I read that you like languages and foreign languages in particular. That's a very brave thing to really reach out there. And you said you like to greet people even in a language that you might not, particularly speak fluently.
Yes. If I meet someone from a different country, I just love to learn, even just to say hello. And I think growing up in Zimbabwe, we speak Shona. We speak 2 main languages. There's several languages, but the 2 major languages are Shona and Ndebele. Ndebele sounds like Zulu if you're familiar with Zulu. And I grew up speaking both. and also speaking English. So I basically grew up speaking 3 languages simultaneously. And because of that, I guess I just always loved to learn languages. And I took French in high school. I took some Spanish lessons when I moved to America and learned to speak Spanish when I lived in El Paso, Texas. And just anywhere I go, I just love to hear different languages and learn. I never remember much of it, but just in that moment, I like to try it.
Isn't that wonderful? I think that's great. Yeah, when you live around the world, it's really fun to be able just to show them that you're trying. Right.
Yes, yes, they love it, especially the French. Oh my gosh, the French love it when you try.
And your book is written in English. What language do you dream in?
Interesting. I dream in English.
Wow.
So Zimbabwe was a British colony. So we grew up with a lot of British influence, and English was the official language of instruction. So it's school, business, everybody spoke English, right? So just growing up, English was just always there, and we spoke it at school, everywhere. So, yeah, I speak English at home, but we speak Shona too. We mix. We call it Shonglish.
I like that. Teach us a Shona, a word in your native tongue there, in Shona.
Okay, so to greet someone, you say Makadi.
Makadi.
Yes, Makadi is how are you?
I think that's wonderful. Well, we all learned something today, and I'm looking forward to reading your book there at AliceTakawira.com. You can find out everything you want to know about Alice and her writings and what she's doing now and what she's up to. Are you working on something right now, Alice, before we cut everything off and have to get back to playing music? Are you working on a new book?
Yes, I am. I am in the very early stages of my next book. I think I've come up to like chapter 7 or something. Yeah. And
does your husband know about this book?
No, he still insists. We'll surprise him again, right? He might be in this one. Who knows?
Yeah, but, who knows?
He is, I call him my editor-in-chief. Like, he is the one who read the first manuscript and just like red ink all of it with, wow. This is good. So he likes to read a finished manuscript, he says. So
yeah, I don't let my wife read anything until it's been to the editor at least once. So that's great. Well, hey, thanks for coming on, Alice. It's been great getting to know you, and I'm looking forward to reading your book. Tell everybody the name of your book one more time.
My book is Turning Tables. You don't know what you've got till it's gone.
There you go. And she's not talking about the food. So,
no.
There you go. All right. Alice Takawira, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you.
Country, that's what I grew up listening to.
Georgia Radio. We love you more than peanuts and peaches. So glad you're here.